One of the strong lies of the enemy is to cause us to feel like we're all alone and God's really not there, or he's not going to be there. I vowed, I made promises, I made deals. And by that I mean sometimes we've made deals with God. You go, well, God, I'll do such and such if you do such and such. But you know what? God is looking for people that say, God, no matter where you, no matter what, I'm going to be where you are. I remember Pastor Ray's song that you wrote years back said, God, if you don't do nothing else, you've already done enough. Anybody ever felt like that about God? If you didn't do nothing else for me, God, you've already done enough. That's perseverance. That's God, I'm holding on because I believe God wants a people that are going to make up their mind that there ain't nowhere else to go. Do you feel like I do? God, I ain't got nowhere else to go. I remember at a season and a point in our lives after my wife and I, we lost everything. I mean everything. House, cars, jobs, the works. Had to move back home with my mom and dad and had a baby with us. So, feeling humiliated, embarrassed. Don't let the suit fool you. Thank the Lord for Elder Ted helping me get a suit. Yeah. But it ain't always been this way. Driving a car that we used to call the Flintstone Mobile, because those of you who have seen the cartoon, the Flintstones, remember how they started it by their feet pedaling on underneath? Well, our floorboard was rotted out in the bottom of the car, so we called our car the Flintstone Mobile because you could see the street from through the floorboard of our car. So it ain't always been this way. But I remember making up our minds when we had to start all over again. God, we're going to do it your way. And if we mess up, I'm going to mess up because I was trying to do it your way. At some point, you got to come to a place where there ain't no backup plan. There is no backup plan. God, it's you, it's you, it's you. You are playing A, you're playing B, you're playing C. You're it. I got nowhere else to go. I got nothing else to try. And I'm telling you, you haven't seen the glory of God until you go there with him. I sense that some of you today, you're still like this. You're kind of trying to test, there's some people before they jump in the water, they put their foot in and see if it's too cold. And no, that ain't how it works in God. It's all or nothing. It's all. You know why we talk about tithes and offerings and all that kind of stuff in this house? Because it's all. We're not after anybody's money. Oh, God, why am I going here today? We ain't going after nobody's money. But there's a place that God wants to bring you to. And as long as you're still trying to take care of yourself with your own finances, then you know what? Your resources are so limited. Because what'll happen is with the $1,000 a week or a month that you are making, then that's all the value you're going to get is $1,000. But I'm telling you, some of us need a whole lot more than $1,000 a month. And so you need to go ahead and take that $100 off of that $1,000, put it in the work of the Lord, the plan of God, the design of God, and watch what he does with the value of your life. See, tithing and giving offerings in the house of God does something in us in this perseverance. What happens is, instead of your value being just simply worth $10 an hour, $15 an hour, because that's all the world can pay you is the salary that they've assigned, that you've contracted with them. And so you're under contract with them and they're only going to pay you that. But when you step on over into tithing and offerings, you step over into the payroll of God. And God's payroll, it doesn't pay by the hour. Aren't you glad God doesn't pay by the hour? He looks at the purpose and the destiny that he put in you. And he says, now that you're stepping into my vision for your life, now I've got provision to make that happen. And so it doesn't matter if whether you need 1,000 a week, 1,000 tomorrow, 10,000, a million, whatever it's going to take for that vision, you done stepped in my payroll. And there is provision for my vision. So I'm here to crush that lie of the enemy that is just to make the preacher's pocket fat. No, God's trying to get something done in the earth. And he's given us the honor and the privilege of participating in it. So he says, I'm going to test you. And if you take just right off the top the 10% and you give it back to me, I'll consider it as if though you gave me everything. I see that same persistence. You gave me everything. You don't have a backup plan. That's what he's talking about. Go ahead and lay your life down on the line like that. And why did God use money? I don't know, because money is actually the lowest form of wealth on the planet. But often where our treasure is, that's where our heart is. So even when you give your money into the house of God, your heart is really got to be toward God. Because if you're still trying to figure out, you could put it in the house of God and now you're still checking out the preacher and seeing what they're going to do with it. That's your heart still ain't. It ain't in the treasure in the storehouse of God. Right now, you're still in skepticism. You're still in doubt. And you still say, I'm happy about this because I know what God did with us. Without ever praying and asking for money, God totally changed my wife and I and our lives around. Living in my mom and dad's house, he even brought me to the point, stop asking for money. Just do what I said do. Don't ask me for no more money. Just do what I said do. Okay, Lord, I'll be faithful. We'll take what little bit we got and we're going to tithe. And then someone in our church at the time came to us and said, we're being reassigned to Germany. They were in the military. And we need somebody to take over the lease in our apartment. Step one. So and there was me and my wife able to step into to just assume a lease without credit application, getting turned down, because when you lose your job and everything, our credit was, y'all, some of you are familiar with those 8s and 9s. We had the 8s and the 9s, and even with the 8s and the 9s, God got us into an apartment. And then you go like, well, maybe that was just coincidental. But then another sister in the house, because at that point it was just a 1-bedroom place, and we had twins on the way. And another sister in the house came to us and said, I'm going to move out of my apartment. It's a 3-bedroom apartment, and you guys can just take over my lease. And so it happened. God did a verily, verily. He let it happen again. Again, he moved us into a place without having to come up with first and last month's rent and going through a credit check and all that stuff. Anybody hear me today? So you wonder why Pastor Chris stands up here and says, you don't need no money, because we done walked through it. I need God. Because when I ain't got no money, I still got God. I still got him. Yes, Lord. Somebody, your career, you've been trying to get it going and different things that God has shown you that he wants to do in your life. But I don't know why he's stopping this message at this point just to kind of speak to you and say there's an element that he wants in you where there is no backup plan. God, I'm going to believe you and I'm going to do it your way. We just agreed and said, if we fail this time, then if we're going to fail because we was trying to do it God's way. And here's the thing about that. You ain't going to fail trying to do it God's way.